At the recording.
Yeah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. You are all welcome to this a very important discussion, in which we will be discussing the future of education in Zamfara State. For long, Zamfara State has been one of the most backward states educationally in Nigeria, and the challenges have been becoming worse over time, with no significant solution in sight. So we feel, as an organization, Zamfara Cycle Community Initiative feels that there is need to bring the key stakeholders in education in Zamfara to discuss the problems and proffer possible solutions that the people in government and other policy makers will be implementing going forward. I will use this opportunity to particularly welcome our discussants, or I would say panelists, especially the Honourable Commissioner of Education, Malam Ibrahim Abdullahi, Professor Muazu Gusau, Abubakar, who has been my teacher for a very long time and a very good mentor, the Vice Chancellor of Zamfara State University, Talata Mafara, Professor Yusuf Adamu, Fafe. We come from the same village, but we did not know each other, so we've never met physically. I hope to meet you one day, inshallah. Hajia Binti Abdul Qadir, the Director of Basic and Primary Education at the Federal Ministry of Education, Abuja. She is very well experienced and well traveled. We hope to tap from her wealth of experience. Dr. Mika'ilu, who is a very resourceful person and a very good friend. And Alhaji Abubakar Maradun, the chairman of the State Universal Basic Education Board. This panel is a very rich one, and we hope the discussion will be also equally rich. And hopefully the people in authority and the general public will be able to tap in from what was discussed here. We hope to hear from the sides of the government what they've been doing so far, where they are having problems with timelines of achievements, hoping that at the end of the day, the general public and other civil society organizations will be able to monitor step by step the achievements recorded, and we will be able to hold them to account based on what they have said and what we have seen them do. I will, at this juncture, hand over to the moderator, Doctor in waiting, Jalaluddin Ibrahim Maradun, to take over. Jalaluddin, bismillah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi to all the participants here. Like the chairman and the host has introduced, I am Jalaluddin Ibrahim Maradun, and I moderate today's session of the Zamfara Cycle Interactive Session series. And then our topic of discussion today is education. Education is the pillar of life, and then we know that education is a vital thing for economic prosperity of every society, and then also education that makes the world a safer and more peaceful place for us all. Like he has said, Zamfara State has been identified as one of the most backward states, and this is the story we want to change. How do we help our students to reach their maximum potentials? How do we help them to compete with their peers in other parts of the world? Today, we have experts in the field of education who are also stakeholders, and then they will be discussing this particular topic. With the overview from the chairman, I go directly into the program, into the event. The program goes like this. We have 2 hours for the session. The first hour will be for the discussants, and the second hour will be for the discussants and the rest of the participants in the hall. Each participant or discussants will talk for 10 minutes. And they tell us what they have with them. Then in the second hour, we open the room, we open the floor for questions, and the discussants respond to the questions. To begin with, I would like to invite the Honourable Commissioner of Education, Honourable Ibrahim Abdullahi Spiro. Okay, yes. Honourable Sir, we welcome you to this important session.
Is he online? Oh, you have to unmute him.
Oh, sorry. I cannot do that from here.
Okay. Yeah, let me find him.
Yeah, I cannot do that from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alhaji stepped out a bit.
Okay. He's unmuted.
Oh, can I unmute him? I've not seen him here.
Honourable Commissioner, is your connection okay?
Yeah, I'm very okay. I can see all of you here.
Okay. Right. Thank you so much.
We are welcome.
Honourable Commissioner, sir, we have seen something impressive when your administration took over, where the state government allocated the largest portion of its budget, the appropriation bill, to the education sector. I think somewhere around 20% or 21%. I don't know the actual percentage.
Okay.
I would love to, or would love to hear maybe a summary of your achievements since you assumed office as the Commissioner of Education, Zamfara State. And then in doing that, we would like to talk about recruitment and deployment of secondary school teachers. We have observed that in some schools, especially in the rural areas, we have minimal number of teachers. We have heard of schools with 1, 2, 3 teachers teaching all the subjects in a school. So we would love to hear something about this particular issue. Then you also talk about supervision and monitoring of secondary school, the secondary schools we have. Since you have quality assurance unit in your ministry, then we would like something about condition of service for secondary school teachers, specifically what has to do with promotion of teachers, remuneration of, for teachers, professional developments, and accommodation for teachers, especially those in the rural areas. Then we would like to hear something from you about the Alhaji system of education. What is your position and what are your plans for the Alhaji system of education? Then finally, we would like to hear something from you about how you coordinate agencies concerned with education in the states.
Thank you very much, Jalaluddeen, Maradun.
Yes, sir.
You can see you have given me a huge task, but you have given me a limited time to explain in detail.
Yeah.
I want to get out of the crowds of Zamfara circle, so allow me to have enough time to explain what my ministry is doing about all these items you have asked me to discuss about. Then I think that will do me a justice in this aspect. Let me start with my achievements since I assumed office as the Honourable Commissioner, Minister of Education, Zamfara State. You are all aware on the onset of my sworn-in as the Honourable Commissioner for this important ministry, I have not even reported to my office before I started going around to see for myself. I was not interested of any director or any permanent secretary informing me of what my schools are, the conditions of the schools, the conditions of the hostel dormitories, games field, and of course the quality of teachings and the teachers themselves. I don't want to hear from anybody. I want to see by myself. Some people have applauded that, but some few have criticized that and said I was already aware of what the status of education is in Zamfara before I was being sworn in. That is wrong. The idea is see for yourself. ascertain. And Jalaluddeen, you cannot believe me. From what I've been hearing about the dwindling fortunes of education in Zamfara State, I did not, in fact, I did not even hear much of it. It was just the tip of the iceberg until when I took it upon myself to pay an unscheduled, an unannounced, and on-program visits that I took the principals and the management of every school by surprise. I never announced my going out. I never announced my itinerary. I never even announced what I'm expected to do anytime I reach any school. And what I saw was actually very devastating for any person who has the interest of Zamfara and development of education in Zamfara in his heart or in her heart. That was the beginning. I have visited the first school I attended in my life, that is Summer Secondary School. The Summer Secondary School is the heartbeat of Zamfara schools. That is where even most of these visitors, like the NYSC before they have been moved to SAPE, and some important agencies of the military, paramilitary, that is why they used to be camped anytime they come to Zamfara. And whatever impression they have about that school is the general impression they're going to take about Zamfara such of education, wherever they go back. And that school is in complete shambles. Even the last class I left in 1985, that is from 3Y, it was completely a mere ghost status of that class I left. No roof, no ceiling, no windows, no doors. What I only saw was the human excreta and the animals that are hibernating that classes. That is the status of the Summer Secondary School, which I have never entered before, as not in the commissioner. But what I've been hearing about it, then that has given me the opportunity to see it clearly as what it is today. So Summer Secondary School as of today, if Summer Secondary School is to be revamped back, infrastructure wise, forget about these teachers, forget about the student. We need to invest about 1.something billion on that school alone. That will go for renovations, total renovation. And when I say total renovation, I mean all the classes must be renovated, and the new ones must also be constructed to accommodate the number of students that have continued to be admitted into that very important school. That is one for you. Then I was equally in science school that time. At that time, the Ministry of Science and Technology was part of my ministry. I visited the school. That is the school we took pride in as the school that is producing young doctors in the future, young scientists. And believe me, that also was nothing to write home about, because important thing in science school is to assess the quality, the quantity of the materials in their laboratories. There was nothing to write home about. The laboratories, I started with that of biology. I entered the chemistry laboratory and entered the physics laboratory. Apart from the tensiometers and the meter rules and some other pendulums, there was no any equipment, and I don't understand what kind of future engineers are going to be produced from that school. Then the chemistry as well, most of the chemicals, most of the reagents were even expired products. They were expired. The bottles, you see some of them dated as far back as 2018, and they were meant to only last for 3 years. And I entered that school in 2020. So you can imagine the level of degradation, the level of decadence in that important laboratory chemistry. Then when you enter the biology, where most of us have been trained to become what we are today, apart from a half skeleton of human, a model, and some other preserved fishes, which even my students at the university and have gone beyond that. Those specimens are the only specimens that are found in that laboratory. That is science school Gusau for you. The one that house, the one that is located in the capital city. You can now imagine other science schools in other part of the state. Well, I have also taken my time to visit the government unity school at Kotokoshi. Of course, government have intervened. His Excellency was there before me, and he has pushed into promotion of that school with a certain amount of 12 million naira to buy the mattresses, which he bought for the female students, which were then found lying on the bare floor, despite them being our daughters. They were being allowed by the previous administration to be housed in a most inhuman manner. So His Excellency gave 12 million to buy mattresses for about 2,000 pieces. Then he also appropriated 55 million naira to renovate the windows, the doors of their dormitories and some of their classes, and of course provide some furniture. And then that is what the school is all about now, but that also is not enough. Based on my itinerary, based on the school I've chosen, about 23 of them. I think it's government district school, Kotrokoshi, was a bit better. Well, that was that. Before I moved to that Kotrokoshi, I was telling you about the condition of the science school Gusau. The principal took it upon himself to take me to the dormitories. When I entered the dormitories, for the first time, the last time I shed tears was when my mother died. The principal took me to the dormitories. I asked him, where is this place? He said, this is where our students were made to be sleeping, sir. And that was in Hamatan. You are from Maradun. Alamin is from Abia. You all know what Hamatan is in February. You all know what Hamatan condition is in January. That place was where our own children were being made to be sleeping. My son is one of them. That is where they've been sleeping. All that time, my son was telling me the condition of their dormitories. I didn't believe him until I saw it by myself. Then I now realized what my son was been telling me, it was true. Let me give you a graphic image of what I saw. Just an empty floor with some little mats for those who are privileged, like my son. And there was no ceiling, there was no roof. So all the dust of the Hamatan was on them. And these children were shivering because I came very early in the morning. They were shivering from the bitter cold that was biting in their skin. And believe me, I only know that the person was telling me, sir, yeah, Olisa, yeah, Olisa. I know I didn't know I was shedding tears. That was the condition of science school in Gusau, the state capital. Now you can imagine what is happening elsewhere, outside Gusau. Well, today, that is going to be history, inshallah. As I'm talking to you now, His Excellency has given me the approval to renovate at least these 23 schools that needed most important attention. I've written the memo. I'm only waiting for him to come back from Abuja, inshallah, by Tuesday. I'll meet him to allow those money to be released. About 1.23 billion naira that is meant to renovate totally and reconstruct part of this school. Like where Aminu come from, he is aware of one school called Raka. Raka, I think, is government secondary schools. There are some buildings are made there. Those buildings were initiated and developed by the former previous administration of Mahmoud Ali Shinkafi. Those structures who have been allowed to remain as they are, uncompleted, despite all the other positions over years. Nobody have given any attempt to renovate those buildings. Now, this administration of Dr. Bello Muhammad Matoli have included that school so that it will receive a total construction. All those buildings will be demolished. They will be brought down to the ground because no any architect, no any civil engineer can put them back to life because they have been degraded right from the bottom and they have been made to be upstairs. Now, when it's a story building, you cannot imagine a story building with a poor foundation. Now, this is the condition of that school. And this is applicable to most of the schools. So, alhamdulillah, I'll beat my chest today and say, I have the express approval of His Excellency to renovate 23 schools across the state, including the GSSIP, which has attracted a lot of outcry from the IP community, because that school is very important. Most of, in fact, my own HOD, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Osman University Sokoto, came from there, Dr. Professor Magawata. He have cried over time, please, Commissioner, do something about my former school. Alhamdulillah, today I will call him after this meeting and inform him, His Excellency, on his approval, he will release that money that will be channeled into correcting, renovating, construction, all those physical infrastructures from those steps. That is part of my achievements. Now let's look at the feeding conditions of our students that as I've made them. I've taken it upon myself to also look at the quality and the quantity of the food being given to our students. The first shock I got was in Unity School, Kotrokoshi. About 20 meters away from the store where the foodstuff are being kept, you can hear the smell of preservatives, drugs, chemicals that were being to preserve the beans that have been used to be cooked for our students as a mixture of rice and beans or alala or any of that kind of thing. The smell was so staggering that I have to cover my nose because of that smell. And that is the beans that will not be used for our students in their kitchens. I asked the principal, when was this in supply? She could not tell me the correct date. Who supplied them? She could not tell me. So I ordered those things to be evacuated and be dumped at the refuse. I now moved to the kitchen. The kitchen, the food given to them was very poor, inadequate, and not nutritious enough to accommodate the desirable limit, requirement that our basic metabolism needed to keep our students active. You know it now. If you don't have correct food, there's no how our students will be able to concentrate in their learning, because no part of us consume more energy like our brains. So if our brains are going to be used judiciously, it means we have to be given adequate, at least if not balanced diet, but near to balanced diet. That is not what our students have been given. I enter also government school Maru. I've also entered the government schools IP. The story is all the same, and I extrapolate it to other schools as being the same condition. And that I reported to His Excellency, and he not only accepted my report, but also choose 2 schools to visit. He chose government science school Gusau and government girls Arabic school, that is Jigas in Gusau, to see for himself. And alhamdulillah, I have been vindicated. He has seen what I reported to him, and he has directed from that day, no child should be given food that is not adequate in quantity and adequate in quality. And he also mandated that as a Commissioner of Education, I must ensure the quality of the food being given to the student. When the Commissioner for Rural and Community Development procured the raw materials and being given to the food agency for food, my duty is to ensure that the raw materials are qualitative one. The food cooked from those raw materials are qualitative one and enough quantity for our students. Now, this is a clear achievement from our own part. Now, also, during that visit, I realized most of our teachers do not have enough accommodations, especially for those that are in boarding schools. I have identified the peculiar problems. One of the problems is inadequate structure that is to house our teachers, especially outside Gusau, the state capital. And the second problem is there are some retired teachers and non-teachers from our secondary school who, long after they have retired, they still refuse to vacate the houses for the service teachers to accommodate. So, and other issues as well that have not been explored. But these are the 2 main issues I realize are the reason why most of our teachers have not been given enough accommodation to house them. Because if you don't have a roof over you, there's no how you can perform very well adequately. That's not true. Now, Jalaluddeen, this is part of our achievement. The Zamfara House of Assembly have now passed resolution 023, mandating me to remove all retired teachers and non-teachers who are residing in government schools, to allow the teachers that are in service to take ownership of that important buildings which is so much needed. That is an achievement under me. If I have not reported that issue, nobody will have known it. Now, another achievement in that regard was His Excellency, because part of my preliminary reports for him concerning those 23 schools I visited, he also approved the construction at a pilot scheme of a new model lodging accommodation for our teachers. One situated at Endoto, another one at Shinkapi, one at Dampa, and one at Maradun. As I'm talking to you now, the constructors have been mobilized to feed. We have given his first 30% to start building, and we mandated that the buildings must be adequate to specification as been described by the designs. And if we found them satisfactory, His Excellency has promised to stretch it to all the schools in the state. That's also an achievement under me. That I think is one of the greatest achievements I have reported so far. Now my teachers are happy. that many of them are going to have housing accommodation. Now you can ask me, what have I done before that? I have.
Honourable Commissioner.
Yes.
We are giving you 3 more minutes to round up.
I told you I have a lot of things to discuss, and you have given me only 10 minutes. I think 2 minutes you have not done me enough justice. Even LME should know that 10 minutes is not enough for the Honourable Commissioner to speak something that affects Zamfara welfare and the Zamfara students as well. You know it, you are laughing. So you see, now let's look at this way. You have talked about the staff welfare. I have advised His Excellency to introduce what we call in the university and academic allowance for our teaching staff, at least so that it can motivate them, to retain them, to stop the brain drain from the teaching profession to other lucrative sectors, like what you are seeing them, they are going to the bank, some of them are going to the university, some are going to the FCET, some are going to the all other places where they think they can have a means of livelihood that are more enhanced than what they are obtaining in the Australian school. So His Excellency is contemplating on that after he has probably approved this 30% minimum wage. I mean, 30,000 minimum wage. That also is part of what we are deliberating with him now to enhance the welfare of our teaching staff. Then you can also think about the higher scheme that we have introduced into the system of education that enable all those unqualified, all those with lower qualification to go back to school and acquire more knowledge, more qualification, so as to be able to teach our students very well, so that we can have a fewer number of unqualified teachers teaching our students in our public school in Zamfara State. That also is an achievement. Then you can also look at what we are doing concerning student-teacher ratio. The student-teacher ratio in Zamfara State is not what is expected. We expect a situation where at least a teacher should have between 35 to 45 students in a classroom. But the situation now is not what is happening. You find over 200 students in one class, and you can imagine how can a student be taught properly with that kind of rowdy environment. That's not possible. So that's why His Excellency is too keen to approve, to give me the money to start constructing new classrooms, new hostel accommodations for those of our students that are in boarding, and for those who are in day, it's only construction of more classrooms, so that the more and more of them can be dispersed, so that we can come closer to that 35-45 student-teacher ratio.
When are we expecting the commencement of the constructions?
Inshallah, hold me accountable. On Tuesday, when he comes, that memo will be on his table. That memo is my own wrongdoing, because that day I have not gone with the amount of money the project will consume. So he asked me to go back and sit down with my engineers to bring the bill of quantity. Contract sum. That is just what didn't allow him to approve it on 2 days before he traveled out of the state. So that is a message from our own part, and inshallah it will be clear as soon as it comes back from.
Honourable Commissioner, we will now want you to talk about the 2 last issues we have.
Yes. The
Alhaji system of education and the coordination of agencies concerned with education in the states. Because we understand that some agencies are not working hand in hand. So we want to know how you harmonize that kind of situation.
Yes, alhamdulillah, the most important agencies under Mafara are about 11 to 12 in number. The State University, where my mentor, my teacher, Professor Gusau, is the Vice Chancellor, is one of them. The College of Education, Maru, is one of them. As them, we have a cordial relationship with one another. We exchange views, we exchange ideas, how to improve upon what we met on the ground. You can see this from my idea that the VC was nominated and being confirmed long before I was appointed as Commissioner of Education. His Excellency have asked for my opinion, and I've given him.
Honourable Commissioner.
Yes.
For example, now we have some teachers being posted to a particular school from Primary Education Board, and at the same time, we have a posting from another agency. How are you tackling this?
Thank you very much.
Posting from different agencies.
I understand there has not been proper coordination before my arrival, but you can ask, starting from SUBEB, under the chairmanship of Alhaji Maradun.
But UB doesn't handle secondary school activities.
We together with UBE control the activities of junior secondary school. senior secondary school is exclusive responsibility of the Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
With our 4 zonal offices, one in Gusau, one in Aura, one in Mafara, one in Anka. But as per the junior secondary school, we are always building synergy because we have to work together to maintain them, to develop them to the adequate level they are expected. So we have that working good relationship with that important agency.
Thank you so much, Honourable Commissioner. I think maybe we'll come back to those points when we are in the second session, the questions and answer session. But now the last point we want you to talk about is the Alhaji system of education. What are your plans?
Thank you very much. We have a beautiful plans for Alhaji system of education. You know that we have agency for mass education. Under that agency for mass education, there is a unit that is basically dedicated for IQS. IQS means integrated Quranic schools. And under that unit, all the activities of the Alhaji primary school, schools across the state have been coordinated fairly well, because at my assumption, we have decided, the ministry and the agency, to come together to see how we can improve upon what I met on the ground. On that basis, I met all the emirates, 17 from the 17 emirates in Zamfara State. I addressed them on the need for them to participate actively in bringing out our Alhaji system of education into the modern trend, not to be seeing them carrying plates, going about, begging, but to house them in a more conducive atmosphere of learning, whereby they could even have an element of Western education incorporated into their curriculum, apart from the basic Islamic knowledge that have been trained. And ask your emir from Maradun, and Alamin should ask his emir from confirmation. They were very happy with this noble idea from the Honourable Commissioner of Education. And in order to build up from that, I also directed the chairperson of that agency to start going from one emirate to the other until every emirate is sensitized from the emirate to the Angua level. That Alhaji system now is part of the responsibility of Ministry of Education, and we need to give them a conducive atmosphere of learning, and also not only the Alhaji, but even the Zawarawa that are so much abundance in the street, they are now getting married. We are trying to also build more and more centers to accommodate them, to give them more and more skills through that.
Thank you so much, Honourable Commissioner, for your contributions.
And right now, we also have introduced an online teaching, and we have dedicated 1 hour for Alhaji system of education because of this corona pandemic and the lockdown. We don't want to allow them not to be taught in their normal convention school. So I sponsored through UNICEF, SUBEB and UBEG the online teaching. We call it IQS learners in Zamfara Radio and NTA. So right now that is going, and it will continue for the next 3 months, inshallah. Hopefully by then the lockdown could have been eased off completely. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honourable Commissioner. And please bear in mind that later in the program, we talk about professional development. That is in-house training. And I think I will personally request the chairman to host again another session that will present only the Commissioner of Education, because it seems you have a lot to present to the people of the first state.
Yes.
Commissioner, Chairman, for your notice.
Noted.
Thank you.
Yeah, now we move to the next discussants, next panelist. That is Hajia bint Abdulkadir, who is the Director of Primary and Secondary Education, Federal Ministry of Education, Abuja. Hajia was once a principal, GGC Bodinga and Kwatarkwashi, also a principal, FGC Gusau, Minjibir, Kwali, and Abaji. So she's a well-experienced educationist and also a stakeholder. Hajia Bint is from Bungudu local government of our blessed states. Hajia, are you connected?
We have to unmute her.
Unmute her. Dr. Aliyu. If you can unmute Hajia Binta.
Okay, I am unmuting her now.
Okay.
What is wrong?
I can't even find her.
Okay.
Maybe she's on the next page or.
No, I have seen her. I'm trying to unmute her here.
Okay. Or maybe only Ali can do that.
No, I can't do that too. Can we move to the next person? Because
no, let us unmute her. I think
I don't know what the problem is.
Dr. Aliu.
Dr. Aliu has stepped out a bit.
Okay.
He has a deadline to submit a paper this afternoon.
Okay, I think let me try.
Try from your end and see.
Is she on page 2 or 3 or 4?
She's, I think, on page 2. Gatana in Agani Ama, I cannot unmute her. Okay, let me unmute all. Maybe.
No, don't do that. Don't unmute all. We shouldn't face a bigger problem.
Can you do that from your end? Let me call Aliu. Dr. Ali is coming to unmute her. I think okay, she has been unmuted. She has been unmuted. Haja Binta has been unmuted.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you, Haja.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good afternoon, but actually I didn't listen to the moderator. I was not hearing him when he first made a comment. Please, can he take over the comment he first made so that I will know where I can start from?
Thank you so much, Ajia. I was saying that you are going to comment on functional primary and secondary education in the context of Zamfara State. Then you will also talk about guidance and counseling services. And then finally, female child education.
Okay, thank you very much, responsible stakeholders of education in Zamfara State. It really gladdens my heart to be part of this journey. I appreciate you. Functional education, when we call something functional, we are talking about its ability to work for the purpose for which it is established. And from what the Honourable Commissioner said, we've not been having a functional education. But now, with the passion they have for education, I'm sure we will have. We all know education is simply the process of learning, as we generally term it, from the day one is born to the day one dies, whether in a formal setup or an informal setup. But in this case, we are talking about the formal education. And primary education, as we all know, is the education a child gets from the age of 6 to 12 years. In these critical formative years, the child is said to achieve a set balance of cognitive, emotional, and psychomotor domains, which enable him or her to become a proper human being within the social context. While the secondary education is education we receive from the age of 12 to the age of 18. Usually, this secondary education is staggered into two. We have the basic education that start from JS1 to JS3, and we have the senior secondary, the post-basic education, which starts from the SS1 to SS3, where we get prepared to
Hello? Can we hear Haji Binta?
If she's having problems, we can move to the next next panelist, and then we will come back to her. We can come back to her later, probably.
Because I can't even find her here.
Yes, maybe she's
disconnected.
Yes.
Okay.
So can we
I think we have lost Haji Binta. Maybe we come back to her. Let us move to the next discussant. Ella, may help us unmute Damadami UBE.
Okay. What is his username? Because he did not come.
I saw Chairman UBE somewhere.
There's no Chairman UBE in the. I think, but I've seen user is his username, so I. So cannot unmute. Has he?
Okay. Doctor, could he please identify maybe by chat the name he's using? So
his name is user, so unmute him. Okay, I think I unmuted him.
You're muted?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Chairman, are you connected?
Well,
okay,
can you hear me?
Yes,
you can hear
me. He's here.
Jalaluddeen is not hearing me.
No, I can hear you, Chairman.
All right.
Thank you so much. We are now moving to the next panelist before we return to Haji Binta. And our next panelist is Alhaji Abubakar Maradun, the Damadami of Maradun, who is also the chairman, Zamfara State Universal Basic Education, responsible for the implementation of basic education in Zamfara State. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Jalaluddeen.
We want to have a summary of your achievements since you assumed office. That is one. Then, secondly, we want you to comment on enrollment in rural and urban areas of the state. Also to comment on the congestion in primary schools, where you see a class with more than 300 pupils. Then you talk about also condition of structures and instructional materials in primary schools, recruitment and deployment of primary school teachers, then condition of service for teachers under your establishment, and then you also comment on community participation in the delivery of primary education, because we all know that the community has a role to play in promoting education in our society.
Very much.
And finally, you comment on the relationship you have with development partners, such as DFID and the rest, as well as external funding opportunities.
Assalamu alaikum. To start with Jalaluddeen, let me start with the problems we met when we came on board. You know, His Excellency was born in May 29 last year, just a few days after 1 year. And when he came, during his speech, during his inaugural speech, he declared state of emergency on education because of the roads he met. Education as far as Zamfara State is concerned. And he promised that he would give education his best priority. And when he came, you know, we have security problem. Most of our schools are closed, especially those in the rural areas. More than 80% of the schools are closed there because of insecurity. In some places, children could not go to school because of fear of being kidnapped or killed. And also other places, there are nobody there. Most of them are residing in IDP camps. Another problem that we met is that most of the teachers are demoralized because of so many reasons. One, they have not been receiving elevation, that is promotion, for almost 10 years. They have not been being paid their allowances like leave grants and others. And payment of salaries are not all that prompt. We also have a problem of inadequacies of classes as a result of the upgradation of most of the classes. And also, most schools you discover they have either one block, and in other places they don't even have. You are from Maradun, you know, if you left Dambada, from Dambada to Maradun, there is one place called Amra. You have been seeing them civil learning under peace. Unfortunately, that school, when I came, I was not to understand that school has about four classes, but learning under fish. So there are so many problems that we meet. There is also a problem of supervision. You know, supervision is very important in sports. We have only 20 SSOs, and you know, having about 40 local governments and the vastness of local governments, this 20 SSOs will not cover the schools we have. And the lack of also that training. Right. So when we came with the support of His Excellency, we really did well. One, because of what His Excellency did as far as security is concerned, most of our schools are open. I can beat my chest to tell you that all our schools open them until when the corona pandemic affects. Also, our teachers, His Excellency approved promotion of more than 6,000 teachers that have not received their promotion for more than 10 years. more than 6,000 teachers. And all these promotions have been implemented. And they are receiving their salaries accordingly. Well, there was a funding program was conducted, and one of the teachers was telling me that it is only the coming of Matola that remedies his problem, because he was receiving less than 10,000, but as a result of that elevation, he was receiving up to 50,000 naira. And His Excellency also approved the payment of the leave grant. This is also something that they have not received for more than 10 years. We have also beefed up training for them. We have trained more than 1,800 teachers and more than 1,000 head teachers. And we are also making arrangements to improve, inshallah. When His Excellency came, the reason why we have not been constructing classes and renovating the dilapidated ones was because the past government couldn't settle its counterpart funding as far as marching grant is concerned. When we came, 2017, 2018 was lingering, but immediately His Excellency approved the payment of the balances. That is when UNICEF approved our grants for the 2017 and 2018. And we kickstart construction of new classes, renovation, the other provision of materials of about 515 billion naira. He also paid instantly again the matching grant for counterpart funding for matching grants in 2019, which is more than 1.5 billion naira. And another good thing, Jalaluddeen and other listeners, His Excellency also approved and paid the matching the counterpart for 2020 again, which is over 1.5 billion. In short, we are not, as far as that is concerned. That is what gave us the power to go ahead with constructions and renovations. His Excellency immediately flagged off the construction of about 900 classrooms then for the 2017 and 2018. We renovated also over 390 primary schools that were paid up by SCOM. We also constructed a VIP toilets with sports in many schools. We provided ICT centers and the equipment all the necessary facilities at many of the schools. Also, but we have done a lot to that the education sector. You know the situation, we met it, and I'm sure I can beat my chest to tell you that we have changed this situation, inshallah. As in respect of enrollment, we are doing very much as far as enrollment drive is concerned. We brought in all traditional institutions, that's the AMS, the district heads, village heads, and other stakeholders like SBMCs, that is members of the schools. You know, in each school we have school base management committees that are managing the schools. we also are conducting enrollment drives, partner with UNICEF in about 3 schools, in about 3 local governments. That is Bergen, Maradun, and SUBEB. And on our part, UB is also conducting such in all the local governments. We are also trying to conduct mapping in all of these schools for us to know exactly the number of children we have that are supposed to be in school. You know, when His Excellency, in his speech, he promised that education is going to be free. Basic education is going to be free. That is, I'm talking of what concerns me. That is 6 years in primary and 3 years in GSS. That is 9 years education. That is also the mandate of the board. So that established the board mandated it to provide free and quality education to all children of school, all age school children. So we are doing very much to ensure that we understand and know how many children are supposed to be. And His Excellency has given us the go ahead to do that. And we are going to ensure that we bring all the children to. In relation to that as well, there is a program that we are doing together with the World Bank and DFID that is also addressing the problem of children that are supposed to be in school. According to the census made then about 3 or 4 years ago, there are about more than 10 million children that are out of school in Nigeria. And out of that, we have more than 800 and about more than 800,000. You just see the number is just too much for the state. And so that program has done a lot in that direction, in bringing those type of children that are not schooling. Before the corona pandemic, we have enrolled more than about 40,000 children in the 3 components of the program. That is the Alhaji school, the first child education, and also the nomadic education. Under the IQS, that is the Alhaji school, we are able to enroll about 70,000 of those children. We have 2 centers each in each of the wards, the state. And we recruited teachers, temporary teachers to teach them. We are reaching these children in their Alhaji schools. We are not bringing them out of the Alhaji school because it was discovered many of the Malams and also the fathers maybe don't want their children to go to school, maybe because they simply they will not get adequate Islamic education. So that is why through sensitization, through advocacy with emirs, district heads, stakeholders, and those Malams as well, we are able to convince them to agree to this integration. And I'm not to tell you that we recruited about more than 70,000 in our schools. We have about 282 teachers that are giving them learning. We have provided all the necessary materials for them to learn. The instructional materials, learning materials, uniform, and we're even feeding them. Also, still under the same we enrolled more than 10,000